Hi, Ed Prevey here with Ed's 2 cents worth. I wanted to talk to you would-be loader builders, such as these, in regards to some things that I think we have some misconceptions about. You think of a loader, you think of something really rugged, heavy duty, and that's true. But there's a difference between what we have to work with today and what we had to work with, say, 20 years or so ago. The loaders or the tractors in which we would be building upon were much more stout, much more heavy duty. Let me show you something here, and I'm going to show you here in just a second a close-up of this. But this is metal. This is 1/4-inch steel. The loaders back, garden tractors back in, let's say the 60s and 70s, they used something like this, 1/4-inch steel. As time went on, we saw some around 3/16, still pretty stout. You could pretty much build anything on it that you wanted to. Well, this is kind of what they're using today. You kind of compare that with this other, and you can really see a difference, and I'll show you that picture here. But what I'm getting at is what we have today to work with is not the same as what we used to have. And we might have a mentality of, well, I can build anything on it the way I want it, and it's going to hold up and it's going to be safe. And that is not necessarily true. These mowers, because this is what this was, this one too, lawn mowers, were intended to mow lawns. They weren't intended to pick up heavy objects and move them around. The frames on them are this thin, or approximately, a little bit thicker for these, but there's some of them out there that are this thin. Something might break. We could get hurt. We have to keep in mind that what we're building on, the foundation in which we're putting this loader on, isn't as heavy duty as it used to be. Things like center of gravity are also concerns, because some of you out there are probably experienced using heavy equipment, but others of you have never done it before in your life. So you have to keep in mind certain safety factors, such as being conscious of the center of gravity. Let me explain further. When this mower came from the factory, it had a mower at the bottom. I've removed that on both of them. The center of gravity on this at that time was probably somewhere in this area, right here, very low. And now I've added a loader on it. I took that off, which raised the center of gravity, because now I don't have anything close to the ground that's holding the mower down. Now it's higher than what it was. Add to that the loader, and I'm raising the loader up and down. And as the loader comes up, my center of gravity is changing. And then if I put a weight on it, wow, it's really changing. So I need to be conscious of that. Let's say my load is way up here. My center of gravity is way up to where I could easily tilt one way or another, and I could be in danger of hurting myself, hurting others, losing my load, causing other kinds of damage, ruining the tractor, who knows what. Different kinds of terrain. You have to keep that in mind. If I'm on a slope, well, the tractor's not going to be as stable on a slope. That's where things like wheel weights come in. because they give you this side-to-side stability. When lifting a heavy load like this, weights in the rear are important because they give stability this way. In fact, weights in the rear can help lighten the load, pressure that's on your front axle, because it's lifting up that front axle. In fact, it's lifting up the entire load. So you can't just pour on the weight and expect to be doing things right. You want too much weight back there because then you lose your steering. You want just the right amount of weight in order to give you the right balance. Keep that center of gravity as low as possible, and to make the tractor and what you're about to move as safe as possible, keeping yourself safe at the same time. So that's what we're going to talk about here in regards to a demonstration. We're going to demonstrate what happens when we put a heavy load on it and when you don't have the weights in place that you need to have. So stay tuned. Keep in mind, we'll put a definition of center of gravity on and try to help us to grasp some different concepts here. So keep watching. Now here's something to consider. We talked about the frames and the overall structure of these modern tractors as being much more light duty than the old counterparts. If I leave a lot of weight on this tractor and I'm bouncing around and going over the yard and up and down hills and twisting back and forth and everything, and I don't really need the weight, but I've got it on there, do you think maybe over time it might do some damage to that frame or some other components that are built more light duty? See, I don't run the rear weight all the time. I would pretty well leave the weights on the wheels all the time. But if I know I'm going to pick up a heavy load, something that is going to put a lot of weight in this bucket, then I want that extra weight back there. But if I'm just picking up, say, a couple of bags of concrete or a load of dirt, fill the bucket, I could fill that bucket and just use those wheel weights. But if I'm doing something unusually heavy, or I'm going to cover terrain that is, maybe I got to go uphill, or maybe the ground is really wet, slippery, then I want to put that extra weight on. So you kind of have to judge it a little bit. You don't need the weight all the time, because I'm in fear, at least, of doing damage to the tractor. Possibly you see the wisdom in that. I don't know. Of course, you might put it on, leave it on, and you never have a problem ever. Great. So all depends on how you think about things, I guess. But just some factors to consider. Whatever decisions you make, you're going to have to be the ones to live with it. So if it breaks, you got to fix it. If you can keep it from breaking, that might be a plus. Just things to think about. But anyway, let's take a look at these demonstrations. Take note that the one tractor has the wheel weights but does not have the rear weight. We're going to put a tremendous amount of weight into this bucket, lifting up the other tractor. or trying to anyway. As the weight comes into the bucket, there's more weight pushing down on the front axle. The tractor is wanting to lift in the rear. Let's put more pressure on it. You see the front of the tractor go down a little bit, which means the rear of the tractor is coming up. It's getting a little unstable there. Let's go some more. The rear of the tractor is actually lifting off the ground at this point. All the stress is on the front axle and on the loader. I can actually run my hands underneath the rear wheels. No traction at all. There's probably somewhere between 400 and 500 pounds on that bucket right now. But you notice when you push down or put weight on the rear, you start to get traction again. So we need the rear weight in the back. The axle weights are good for side to side. The rear weight is front to back or back to front support. So here we have the rear weight mounted. I'm going to try this again. Making a few fine adjustments there, not to do any damage. Now I believe I have the full weight of the other tractor on that bucket, and I have complete rear end surface contact, and the tractor is stable. And what do I learn from this? Well, there are times when I need that rear weight. There are times when I don't need it. Stable tractor. And here's the proof that we've got all this weight on there. Somewhere around 400 to 500 pounds on that bucket. See that front wheel spinning? So what are our conclusions? Riding mowers are not as rugged as true garden tractors. The center of gravity is constantly changing on a front end loader due to load weight, load height, and the surrounding conditions. Both wheel weights and rear end weights are important. Terrain and load play a role in determining which weights to use and when. Weights play a role in providing traction, but more importantly, they help to stabilize the tractor loader, thus making it safe. Hopefully, once again, this has been helpful to you in your loader build. Please click the like button, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. Thank you.